Alexander Cockburn, whom I consider America's best journalist. And we're going to talk about the press and politics. Alex has just published in the New York Press of April 15th an article called "The Big Lie," which discusses the press in Clinton time and the press in general. And I'll start by reading, I'll make him read the first paragraph.
Oh. Hi, Tuli. That was nice, what you said about me.
Only the truth, nothing but the truth.
Okay, this is called The Big Lie. Sooner or later, usually sooner, most journalists want to belong. They want to be in good moral odor. They crave the blessings of the public and the respect of their peers. If they are David Brock or Joe Conason, they want to be invited to the White House, or at least called on the phone by Bill or Hillary, or more likely by Sid Blumenthal. There isn't a trade in existence whose practitioners require such monstrous injections of reassurance, or whose cravings for prizes and kindred tokens of esteem are so intense. I'll stop reading there.
All right, you've been in journalism a long time.
Yeah.
Since when?
I wrote my first piece when I was 16, and I'm 56, so that's 40 years ago. And my dad was a journalist.
And you've been in America, U.S.?
72.
And so how would you compare British and American journalism?
When I first got here, I was very struck how, and I first covered a presidential campaign in 76. That was the Carter campaign. And I was really struck how the American journalists, didn't seem to be drunk. Because in England, you can't go around with journalists, they're boozers. They're just drunk after about 11 o'clock in the morning, they're all drunk. And I was thinking about it, the American journalists didn't seem to be drunks. And you'd see them, they'd even go to bed, when you were in a campaign trail, many of them go to bed quite early.
Well,
why? Is the question.
I know why. Actually, there is a great tradition of being drunk in American journalism. If you, a front page by, who was that guy?
Oh.
Chicago writer.
Ben Hecht.
Yeah, it was traditional, but I think the answer is now that in order to get a job on a newspaper, you have to go to journalism school. Mm-hmm. And in order to get into journalism school, you have to be, one, a fool, and two, well-dressed and middle class and everything else.
That's
so
right.
The profession has become more like being a graduate student who is assigned to report on certain.
English journalists have very low self-esteem. They're regarded as scum. They regard themselves as scum.
Good.
And so they're drunk out of self-pity and remorse. Whereas in America, what you say, they have incredibly high feelings of deep down they know what they're doing is not a particularly elevating occupation. And so on the one hand, they like to think of themselves as performing an important function in the Republic. On the other hand, they know that most of the time they're performing fairly degraded services.
But I think in order to pass through the Columbia School of Journalism and get the degree, it's a kind of self-selection. Like if you want to work at the Times, I think that school or some other comparable school of journalism is a requisite. So it's sort of self-selecting. You wouldn't go there unless you believe that what the Times is doing is good journalism or it's worth the job.
There's a backwash to that. If you go around to the campuses, all the campuses which have journalism schools have terrible newspapers. Because all the kids in the J schools do their articles in the papers so they can show them to the New York Times hiring guide. And so, of course, all the articles are awful, muck. And they're all objective and balanced and this, and some say that, and now for another view of Hitler and all this. Whereas in a campus which hasn't got a J school, it's not bad.
It's better,
A little bit better. That's really the point of what I wrote here. That half the press they're under the illusion, they keep saying, if only we can get back to the real issues. As though the public really wants to read about, you know...
As if they know what the real issues are.
As if they would know what the real issues are. And then they have this, they invent this little scenario whereby the public is dying to read about the Chilean social security system. Whereas, of course, I said the public is actually eager to read scandal, of course. You know, they want to read about Monica Lewinsky and the seaman stains and all the rest of it because it's fun. And they think there's Bill and he's got a nice Jewish girl from Beverly Hills, and isn't that a good thing? And so here we have incredible pomposity from, here's an idiot called Walter Shapiro, who writes in USA Today. Actually, I always rather like USA Today, but I certainly don't like Walter Shapiro. Quote, "Sex sullies everyone." This is a serious man writing this. "From the moment the Monica Lewinsky story broke, we all lost our moorings." Of course, we didn't lose our moorings. We began to read with joy. This is him again. "The president, through his own conduct, may have forfeited much of the moral authority of his office." Notice the assumption that it's got moral authority, by the way. "But by slavering over the sexual details, the press has squandered some of its own credibility. Too often the media has," the guy's semi-literate, doesn't even know that media is plural, "used hypocrisy as an all-too convenient rationale for publicizing private peccadillos," which of course is what any newspaper should do. "Just because a candidate includes a smiling picture of his wife and family in his campaign ads is a flimsy excuse for questioning his fidelity." Can you imagine the pomposity of this? "Even candidates who piously champion family values do not automatically empower the press to dredge up old divorce decrees. In an era of poison politics, anything goes. Sex sells as surely as it sadly sullies serious subjects." I didn't realize you got so many S's.
Wow.
"Sadly sullies serious subjects." Every single sentence is ridiculous. Because, of course, A, sex is fun. B, you know, these candidates, they used to go gay baiting, you know, when they put out that little picture of them and the missus and the 2.7 children. And then it turned out he was, you know, out there in the gay bars. Well, aren't we meant to publish that? That's a good example.
Yeah, I have a few things to say about that. It reminds me of an old joke. This man is talking about his marriage, and he says, "Yeah, we have a real equal marriage. We divide our responsibilities. I decide whether we should recognize the Soviet Union and raise the armed forces budget, and she decides where we spend our vacation and how we raise the kids." And the other thing is, I'm not a Clinton fan. I'm sort of an anti-Clinton fan. But this was sort of something that made him seem really human. Like, this is the best thing he's ever done, is to have all of these affairs.
That's right.
And I did a cartoon right at the beginning of his term, in which said, "What do we really know about Bill Clinton? Dodged the draft and had Jennifer show him her flowers. And then the next panel, it's been downhill ever since."
Yeah. I once in The Nation, I said, one of the best things about Bill Clinton is he spent most of the 80s with his head between Jennifer Flowers' thighs. And The Nation readers, the letters poured in, they were horrified by this.
Did you see her on TV?
No.
She's a wonderful woman.
I love her. I loved her
Yeah.
book. And The Nation readers said this is the most disgusting thing we've ever read. And I said, actually, it's the best thing about Bill Clinton, just like you. The best thing. I mean, John Kennedy just, I mean, you know, 30 seconds, just hopped on and hopped off, and that was it. And Bill, you know, he was considerate. Jennifer Flowers, a really thoughtful guy, you know.
Yeah, she liked him.
Liked him.
Yeah, she really loved him.
Yeah, and then he put all her clothes on and sat around and, you know, had a good time. There's incredible prudishness. There's